He's live here in Washington. David.
Hi, John. News of the investigations, not a total surprise. There have been rumblings this may happen soon, but nevertheless, here we are. The scope of the two probes into former CIA Director John Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey, not crystal clear, but we do have some details to share this afternoon. For the Brennan probe, Fox Digital's Brooke Singman reports that the current CIA Director, John Ratcliffe, turned over information recently to the FBI regarding Brennan potentially lying to Congress. Fox Digital reports the probe surrounds testimony to Congress and the FBI Director Kash Patel fully involved in that investigation. As for Mr. Comey, the former FBI Director fired by President Trump in 2017, that investigation is underway within the halls of the DOJ, but the specifics, though, are unclear. Two sources, though, describe actions of the two men as part of a potential, quote, conspiracy, which could widen legal exposure. The White House out with reaction shortly after the news broke last night.
I'm glad to hear it, because both of these disgraceful individuals turned against our Constitution and our country, and I'm sure they did, in fact, lie to Congress, and it's up to the Department of Justice to investigate that and to prosecute them if they did.
Department of Justice officially not commenting. Right now, we're talking investigations, though, John. Any actual charges would likely come from the U.S. Attorney for D.C., Jeanine Pirro, with the approval of Attorney General Pam Bondi. But even before we get to that step, a grand jury would have to agree to indict. No comment from Comey or Brennan to Fox on this story.
We'll
John.
see where the investigation goes. David Spunt setting the table for us. David, thank you. Sandra?
All right,
Thanks,
Hugh, thank you very much, David. Hugh Hewitt is the host of the Hugh Hewitt Show on Fox News, also a Fox News contributor. Good to have you on the program, sir. So where do you see this going?
Thank you, Sandra. I see this going deep into 18 U.S.C. 1001. That's the False Statement Act. If you've made a false statement to any federal official and testifying to Congress falls into that, you're guilty of a felony, and the statute of limitations is 5 years. The stories that I have read about Mr. Brennan date the initial offense under 18 U.S.C. 1001 to his congressional testimony in 2023. I don't see it linked to anything specific with regards to Mr. Comey. But if you go back to the 2023 congressional testimony by then private citizen Brennan, he suggested at that time, in fact, he stated that he had not had anything to do with the inclusion of the Steele dossier in the briefing of the then President-elect Trump in 2017. The note released by the CIA this week, and on which Director Ratcliffe has commented, contradicts that, and therefore there is at least a resolution that has to be found and possibly an indictment that will follow whether or not Mr. Brennan lied. I do want to remind the audience, this is what got General Flynn originally convicted, was a false statements case made on a much thinner reed than what is being alleged to occur here. But no professional prosecutor will get out ahead of a case like this and say he lied until they're ready to take it to the grand jury.
Yeah, and Ratcliffe telling the New York Post in that interview to which you just referred, Obama's Trump-Russia collusion report was corrupt from the start. According to the CIA review, this was Obama, Comey, Clapper, and Brennan deciding we're going to screw Trump, he said in that exclusive interview. Jonathan Turley weighed in last night, Hugh, with Laura Ingraham, talking about why he says it is hard to believe Comey and Brennan's testimony. Listen here.
There have been these long unanswered questions about what they told Congress. At points, they both seem to adopt the Sergeant Schultz approach of, I knew nothing. If only I knew, I would have done something. That didn't strike many as being very credible. Both of these tend to be somewhat of micromanagers. They take pride in the fact that they followed the details of their departments.
I mean, in looking for evidence of wrongdoing, these are some of the key findings in the 2019 DOJ IG report on the Trump-Russia investigation. To remind everybody, the FBI omitted info on questionable claims by a Steele source. FBI omitted info from people who questioned Steele's work. The FBI omitted info on Steele's work going to the Clinton campaign, among other things. But bottom line, the big question here, Hugh, is did they lie in that testimony to Congress? And above anything, were the American people misled?
Those are the two questions, not just to Congress. Did they lie to any federal official in the course of any investigatory proceeding, including any internal proceeding that the agency ran in its after-action report? What Director Ratcliffe released and what he commented on was the intelligence community's own internal review of the intelligence community assessment that was used to ambush then President-elect Trump. And I would ask the audience, just compare the 6 months that Donald Trump just had, the most successful 6 months of any president of my adult lifetime, with the first 6 months in his first term, which was a nightmare because of special counsel and because of this Steele dossier and the rumors that it launched. If one of those two men are responsible for the Steele dossier being included and then leaked to the media, and then they lied about it, I hope they get the book thrown at them. But that's a lot of ifs. We don't know, and we ought not to do to them what they are alleged to have done to Trump, ambush and destroy their reputations before they have a chance to defend themselves.
We'll see where the investigation leads. Hugh Hewitt, great to have you on the show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandra. Good to be here.
Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.